Coming to you live from the Vegas Video Network studios, just steps from the Las Vegas Strip, it's Talktails with Chris Phillips. Coming up on today's program, Travis Cloer, who plays Frankie Valli in the wildly successful Jersey Boys. And now a man whose sheets are made out of the velvet Crown Royal bags that everybody loves, Mr. Chris Phillips. Hi. A tad over the top, perhaps. I want to thank the 5 people in the audience that sound like 500. That's wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to be coming to you once again from the Vegas Video Network here in the lovely, warm Las Vegas. And I usually say that it's hot and it's, the desert air, it's dry and all that. But, we're not the only one, apparently, who is sharing in the heat. Apparently, there's a heat wave going across the country. I don't understand why that's such a big deal, frankly, because, if it's under 106 here, we consider that sweater weather. So, hush, America. It's beautiful out, go to the beach. But, folks, you are so cool to tune in to what has become a wildly popular internet television sensation called Talktails that we are... And I know if you were listening really close, you thought, did he say sensation or did he say sex station? I'm not sure what I just said, but I think that was subconscious.
Make our money.
Well, everybody, before we get started, as usual, I'd like to let you know that you can chime in through the week or during the program with any kind of questions or comments by simply going to our email address, which is talktails@vegasvideonetwork.com, and we would love to have you chime in, like I said, with any kind of questions, and one of which we got a emailed, or I did, Scott, just a couple days ago saying, we noticed, Zoe, that your Crown Royal is coming to an end. The level is slowly heading south. And so we had the nicest guy, I think he was from Ohio, named BC.
Yeah. Great guy.
He sent me a new bottle of Crown Royal.
Nice.
Which we are going to open today on the show because I think my guest is going to pretty much finish this off if I know him as well as I do. And so we want to thank BC from Ohio for making sure that we are not going to go dry here. Speaking of drinking, Scott, I don't know about you, but did you have a good time Saturday?
I had just an outstanding time Saturday.
Well, we're
going to talk all about it tomorrow.
Oh, well, good. Well, as a lot of you know, I have a show here in Las Vegas. It's a hip-hop nightclub concert that we do at a place called Red Rock. But we had the pleasure of doing something new at another lovely resort here in town. It's called the M Resort, and we did a big concert out by the pool. And there were several hundred of our local friends out there, including our producer, Scott Whitney, who I didn't know could drink so much, quite frankly.
Really?
And it's nice to see you drink in front of your daughter. That's cool. That's awesome. But you brought your wife and your friends and your daughter. And
oh, it was great. We had a great time, man.
Well, I'm glad you could spend some time with us. Apparently, that went well. We're going to be doing it several more times, apparently, which is great. But, my show is one thing that nobody cares about. It's off the Strip and nobody goes. But speaking of entertainment on the Strip, obviously I'm a tremendous fan of the shows that have graced the showrooms and the lounges over the years that Vegas has been known as the entertainment capital of the world. And typically, Vegas is known for headliners, big-name singers and dancers, magicians, illusionists, production shows that have become such a mainstay here in Las Vegas. But it hasn't really been until, maybe the last 10, 15 years that they have brought something new to town, and that is the Broadway musical, which is now obviously here to stay on the Las Vegas Strip. I think back in, some of the first ones that I can remember, like Starlight Express at the Las Vegas Hilton, Hairspray, and then later, as years went by, we have Lion King, and the producers came to town, and then Phantom of the Opera. All very successful, some not, but most have had great success with the audience coming to Las Vegas. But in my opinion, there hasn't been a musical that has got more attention and has created more of a buzz, and quite frankly, in my opinion, is one of the hottest, if not the coolest show in Las Vegas. The show called Jersey Boys, ladies and gentlemen, and we are so proud to have with us today my dear friend, my drinking buddy, and the star of the show, the one who portrays Frankie Valli himself. We have Travis Cloer.
Good to be here, man.
You know, and there's
Thanks for
nothing
having
like
me.
having a couple cocktails on a warm, hot, sunny afternoon.
nice, right?
It's kind of like our own
Cools you
version of a
off.
pool party. Yes, and I have to say right off the bat, I happen to notice that either you have not been working in a couple days or you've been spending some time in prison. I'm
a little scruffy, and
You look very
but that's
handsome.
good though, because 2 or 3 or 4 days out of the week I have to shave, and my neck is just not happy with that. So,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not familiar with the Jersey Boys, they have become one of the biggest sensations in all of musical history, I guess you
Yeah.
might say. You've taken Broadway by storm.
Yep.
You've now brought the show to Las Vegas, and you have become a big shot here in town,
Well,
Mr. Celebrity Important Pants.
I wouldn't go that far.
And and if you don't know, Jersey Boys obviously is the story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and kind of their, I guess you might say, their path along the way, and the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations.
It's kind of like a behind the music story, basically. Starts out, with them just getting the group together when they were back in Newark and playing clubs, and their rise to fame all the way to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's a great story. It's a great underdog story with a wham bang of an end. So.
Well, this musical isn't very old. It's only been around for
It's
5 or 6 years.
It's just going on 6 years now. Yeah.
Now, you may not know this,
Tell me.
but I'm sure you know how the musical started. But I was dear friends with some people out of La Jolla, the Jacobs family.
Yeah.
And I was doing a fundraiser for something that they are very involved with, which is called the La Jolla Playhouse.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember doing the show, and the family came to me and they said, "Can you stick around another day? We're going to be debuting this brand new show.
Oh, cool,
And it's
man.
called Jersey Boys."
Did you stick around to see
And I
it?
thought, that sounds lame. I'm not going to that crap. I got drinking to do in Vegas. I got to get back. But long story short, obviously, they debuted it there.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that it became a smash success. That
Yeah,
obviously,
it went
Do you know
crazy
the
there,
path
man.
of success that the musical took? Because I know it's not only in New York and Vegas. I understand it's all over the world.
It's global, man. It's global. Well, it started in La Jolla, California, and they used it as the trying grounds, to fine tune things and just see what the audience reaction was going to be. And they took it to Broadway, and it won, all the awards. It won Tony for Best Musical. 2 of the actors in the original Broadway cast won Tonys for Best for Acting, and now there's companies.
Now, that's back like around 2006.
2006, I believe they won. And now we've got the show there still. There's a touring company. There's the one here in Vegas. There was one in Chicago, Toronto. There's still one in London, and now one in Australia as well.
That's unbelievable. And
All over, man.
If I understand correctly, this month, you may or may not know this, the musical has become the 25th longest running musical on Broadway history.
Yeah, how about that, huh?
And that's unbelievable.
With no
Guys.
end in sight either. So.
Well, absolutely not. I'm sure it's going to be around for
Yeah.
years to come. But now, if I did my homework, I know you personally. You become a friend of mine. But I did not know. Are you from Kansas?
I am.
I did not know that.
In Kansas, where it is, I think, 104 there today.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's got to get their attention because that's not normal for Kansas.
No, it's not. And they've got.
Because I'm guessing even some people through the Midwest don't even have air conditioning to some degree.
No.
So they don't even
No,
know what
we're
the hell
all
they're doing.
living on farms and, raising our own animals. And, of course, they have air conditioning.
Isn't that in running
It's
water?
2011. In running water,
Isn't that
they have
something?
toilets, they have plumbing. It's pretty crazy there now. We're getting with the times. So,
Few stoplights in the city. That's cool. Now, if that is your upbringing, this is interesting because I'm guessing that through high school you were like me and kind of a drama nerd.
yeah, totally.
Really?
Totally, absolutely.
Were you in the speech and drama club?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
all
I
that
was in
kind
the
of thing?
concert choir and the drama club. I played basketball for a couple years, but then it got in the way of singing, so I stopped playing basketball and kept on singing.
Well, I pretended to play football until the fact that I was about 4'0" and about
Nice.
100 and nothing pounds.
So you were an easy target.
So, drama just
Yeah.
seemed to be the
Yeah.
natural fit. But
Yeah.
with you, somebody who actually has talent, what inspired you? How were you led down the path to become a musical superstar?
Well, I think it started, when I was a kid. I came from a very musical family. My dad is a music minister, and my mother's a singer. And there was just always music around the house, whether it was through church or listening to the radio or just walking around the house singing or whatever. But then I got into high school and had a great music teacher that really took me under his wing and fine-tuned a raw talent, And
so did you do the high school musicals?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it was a combination of my background with my father's musical influence and my teacher, Mr. Haynes' guidance and,
Sure.
And point me down the path. And
well, it's great to have
here I
inspiration like that.
am, yeah.
What about, were you into rock bands and things, or were you more into
I never
crooners and such?
I love rock and roll. That was my bag. I never really got into a band per se when I was in high school
Really?
or anything. No, I think I always kind of wanted to. I just never did. Because out in the middle of Kansas, we were just getting music when I was growing up.
It's amazing what electricity can do.
We got our first radio when I was 5. But
We all sat around it.
Yeah, we all sat around it listening to the fireside chats.
Yes.
But I've always, I think the type of music that's always hooked me the most is stuff with melody. Whether it was great rock tunes. I'm a huge Journey fan and all those
Yes.
great rock anthems. It's some of my favorite stuff. Or anyway, to the crooners like Sinatra and Mel Torme and Tony Bennett and all those guys. I'm very drawn to melody. And I think that's why I like singing this Four Seasons stuff so much, because it's so melody and harmony driven. It's
So
great stuff to sing.
You're living in Kansas, then, if I understand you moved to Georgia?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Kansas, went off to college, then my father moved to Atlanta. So when I got out of school, I was either, out doing gigs, working, or spending time back home with him in Atlanta. Yeah.
So it was during this time that I think you may have caught wind that there was this show called Jersey Boys going on in Broadway.
Yeah, I mean, it was a few years down the road. This was, I worked on cruise ships for a little while and was doing my own gigs out there and stuff. And got back to Atlanta after, some time away. And
so how does this work? You're in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
This musical's going on Broadway, and you're like, I want to be part of that. How do you bridge that gap?
I tell you, man, it's one of those stories. I every time I tell it, I'm like, that really happened. This is how it happened. I was living there, saw that they had the show. I was like, I've always liked singing in falsetto like Frankie Valli, and I've always loved singing his music and the guys that wrote it and everything. And so I put together a demo of me singing some Four Seasons tunes like, Sherry and Big Girls and Can't Take My Eyes Off You, My Eyes Adored You. Mixed it all together down to like a 3-minute demo. Sent it to New York to the casting agent, thinking, why not?
What do you have to lose?
The worst that could happen is that it ends up in the trash. Either way, I tried. Sure. Few months down the road, I get a phone call from the casting agent, and
wow.
I think through some help of some friends of mine, telling the agents, to look out for this guy, that they listened to my tape, said they had an audition for a spot, opened it up in New York. They flew me to New York, and I auditioned, and long story short, I got the gig.
Now, I'm guessing you didn't step right in as Frankie Valli, though.
No, at first, I was just one of the ensemble members, and understudied the role as well. But it was cool because I joined the original Broadway cast. I was like the second new person to that company. And these are the guys that you saw on all the awards,
so you weren't just new to the show, you were new to New York then?
I lived in New York for about a year and a half prior to that.
So you got your feet wet a little bit.
Seats.
Had you done any other Broadway work or off-Broadway?
I did some regional stuff. I worked with Radio City Christmas Show for a couple years.
That's cool.
And, I worked in a Bring Your Own Dinner theater in Connecticut, which was pretty funny. But it got me my equity card, so who's complaining? But yeah, it was great, man. It was a dream come true. I can remember the day that I got to New York for the show and was standing outside the theater, getting to walk into work for the first time, and I was like, "This is just it's surreal." It's been something that I've been dreaming about my whole life, and I was fortunate and blessed enough to have it come true.
Any major train wrecks, so to speak, the first time or two out on stage, or did you get through it pretty smoothly?
The first time on stage doing. Particularly doing the role of Frankie, I don't even remember because it's just there's so much involved. You're just worried about saying the right lines,
and being in the right
standing in the right spot, hoping you don't fall into an open trap door, singing the right lyrics, and I remember starting the show and finishing the show, but anything other than that, it's just.
Well, one of the things that I think is kind of cool about our silly little show called Talktails here is that we have something called the live chat room, in which your fans can watch what we're doing here live right now, and what's kind of interesting is they're able to ask you questions as we're speaking. And I believe we have somebody that was dying to ask you a question right off the bat.
I have a fan.
If you don't mind. Scott, am I right in my assessment?
We've got several questions, actually.
Sweet.
But we got a big-time star,
Nice.
that's why.
I know. I want to tell you that Mr. Haynes is watching right now.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Is he really?
Brad, you're the man.
Yeah.
That's who you were just talking about.
Right before you said the story, Brad Orlando said, I was his choir teacher.
Oh,
Right on.
cool.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
him.
cool. A couple of questions. We'll start with Sally. Sally wants to know, does the dry weather here affect your singing voice?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's something I'd like to get into because I know that you've complained to me about that, and many singers talk about the Vegas throat, desert air.
You think you hear about it and you're like, oh, it's not going to affect me. I'll be fine. And man, it's not a myth. It is a very live beast that will attack you,
especially as much as
you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah. So, is there any special regimen, or is there anything you had to cut out of your diet, so to speak, that you?
My wife and I actually just went to like a gluten-free diet, and I'm trying to keep dairy out of my diet, and but just good living, clean living, moisture. Drink as much water as I can, and just get enough sleep. And what else do I do? Do some yoga.
You stop smoking crack. I know that was
Stop smoking the crack.
That's cool, man.
I stay off the pipe now, so that's improved my range a little bit. So.
But you're not having nearly as much fun.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, wow. Well, being a real singer like that, I can't even imagine singing that much and putting your throat literally through that kind of.
It's a workout
torture.
for the show alone.
What's the difference between, I don't know if it's the moisture in the air or something, between, like, as an example, when you were in New York, singing as many nights as you weren't here. See, because me, I was born and raised in the desert. I don't even know what this means or what. But then again, I just drink a lot and scream.
Right.
And so I don't sing. Do you lose your voice ever? And if so, how do you deal with that on stage if that ever happens?
Yeah, you do, actually. But that's when it goes back to your training, and you just got to rely on what you were taught, as a singer, to just relax, don't overdo it, and just do the best you can to get through the night. And then after that, go home and just take care of yourself.
Well, I'll tell you something. We're going to take a short little break. When we come back, I want to ask about, speaking of doing your show night after night, I want to ask, how do you keep it fresh?
Sure.
I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. My name is Chris Phillips. You're watching Talktails, and I'm so proud to have with me not only one of the more talented people in Las Vegas, but also my friend. This is Travis Cloer from the Jersey Boys, everybody. We'll see you in a minute.
Hey, I'm Al, man. Is that how you get them to do that all the time? Just sit there and be an ass. Is that it? Hey, I'm Al. Hey, I'm Al Mancini at Top of the Food Chain. You are watching the Vegas Video Network. We got big forks, big spoons. I got a big mouth. I got no guest.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talktails here on the Vegas Video Network. My name is Chris Phillips, and we appreciate you tuning in to see Mr. Big Time here, Mr. Travis Cloer from the Jersey Boys.
Hey-oh.
For somebody like you, who's involved in a Broadway musical, which is very scripted, very choreographed, very precise, you obviously go through the exact same motions night after night after night after month after month after year. Obviously, you have a large audience that comes to see you every night.
Yeah.
They're expecting to see what feels like to them the very first time that you've ever done it. Something exciting, something new, something fresh. But there's got to be times where you walk into the theater and you go out on stage and you're just like, oh, God, the same lines, the same choreography. What do you do night after night that brings something new and something fresh to each and every audience that has paid a lot of money to come to see you?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you do that?
I think it's different every time. First of all, you pick up the energy from the audience. That helps a lot. But you're right. There are times when you're on stage and you're just listening for your cue line, to say your next line.
Sure.
And
do you ever go into autopilot, so to speak?
Yeah, I try not to, but I think if anybody says that they don't, that they're lying. I think the way to get out of that, though, and this is a key thing for, I guess, anybody that's doing a long-term show like what we're doing, I find the best way to keep it fresh, and the person that told me this was one of the writers of Jersey Boys, one of the guys that wrote the script, Rick Ellis. He said, when you find yourself getting into that mode, really listen and pay attention to the actors.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Live for that moment, not for the moments that are coming down the road in the show. Like really sit, look your actors in the eye, talk to them. And that's going to keep it fresh and true every single time.
Because your audience is going to pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely.
instinctively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an easy trap to get into, but we owe it to the audience and we owe it to ourselves not to fall into that
Sure,
trap,
and what's
you know?
interesting is that you're obviously walking out on stage not as Travis Cloer,
Mm-hmm.
but you are portraying a legendary
Sure.
American pop culture icon,
Sure.
Frankie Valli.
Yeah.
Now, it's like, in a sense, like being in a movie, or you're having to pick up on not just his vocal similarities,
Mm-hmm.
but have you done anything to study his mannerisms or his nuances?
Absolutely.
How did you go about doing that?
YouTube is a wonderful tool. It seriously is, man. They've you
You
look on the-
researched his character, I'm sure.
Oh,
in depth,
absolutely,
obviously.
absolutely. There's not a whole lot of footage of him, you know, speaking and being himself, just talking and stuff. But as far as his performance goes, he's got very, very specific things that he does. The way he stands, usually
Tilts
his
his head a
cocked to
little.
one
Yeah,
side a little
yeah,
bit,
you do
holds
that
holds
wonderfully.
one of
I've
his
never
hands up a little bit a lot, and he always kind of looks like he's in pain a little bit when he's singing. And now I know why, because I had to sing the stuff that he had to sing for so many years, because it's high.
I don't know how you do it. You must wear some pretty tight panties.
I do. I strap them on. I get a couple sizes small every time I go to the store. So,
Well, this would be a very interesting question for me to ask, and I'm wondering, has Frankie Valli ever seen you do this?
I'm not sure if
Himself?
I'm not sure if he's seen me do the role of Frankie. He's seen the show when I was in it in the ensemble in New York. But since I moved out here to Vegas, I guess it's almost 3 years ago. They've just been busy. They've been opening up companies all over. He's still on the road touring.
Right, he
Yeah.
hasn't stopped.
So he doesn't know. He's still going.
Is his voice still up to par?
Yeah, man.
Really?
He's still out there rocking and rolling.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, there's been some gigantic hits that, obviously Four Seasons have put out over the last 40
Yeah.
years. There's got to be a couple songs that you would consider to be your favorite, so you love singing the most
Mm-hmm.
during the night. Is there a particular song that sticks out to you?
There's a lot of their songs that didn't make it into our show that I love, that I really, really wish
Right,
they would have.
right.
If you look in the playbill for our show, there's a page that says, great songs that didn't make it into the show.
Are these
It's
ones that were
literally
not necessarily the top 10 chart-busting songs?
maybe some, but I just think they ran out of time. There's got to be a point where
So
you
the
gotta
one-
you
out of the
gotta
ones
cut
that-
the show and make it in the end.
Sure. What do you, I guess you might say, consider to be your favorite song of the night, if there is one?
I think one of my favorite moments is when I get to sing "Can't Take My Eyes Off You." It's always been one of my favorite songs, and it's great because you've got the audience in the palm of your hands by then, and you see all these people. As soon as those first notes of the song start, you hear a collective from the
sure.
audience,
Sure.
and you see guys and girls scoot together a little bit closer, and you hear people singing along, and then at the end of the song they just go berserk, and it's a great moment.
Well, speaking of people going berserk, we have some people on our live chat room going berserk.
Sweet.
Scott, do you mind helping us out with some of the questions in the live chat room?
Yeah. There's a question about whether you prefer Vegas over Broadway. You've done both now. I'm assuming they kind of feel a little different, maybe. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, and I have a question that kind of relates to that I would guess that there is a difference in terms of the crowd and the audiences between Las Vegas and Vegas as well.
Yeah.
Or Vegas and New York.
Being in New York was a dream, an absolute dream. And being in Vegas, I think, is equally as cool. I think, like you were saying earlier, the way the Broadway is being accepted on the Strip now
Yes.
is really opening up some doors. Las Vegas, in the theater community, doesn't have that certain stigma that it used to,
Right.
As far as, it's just a bunch of lounge acts. There's no legitimate entertainment out there, but it's really, really proving itself. And so I think that that Vegas is equally as great to me as Broadway was.
Wonderful, because I'm guessing that the people who come to see you in New York are true theater connoisseurs.
As they are here.
Where I'm guessing that you're going to get some of the reluctant husbands that have been drinking in the casino all afternoon.
Dude, I get a lot of emails from wives saying, I'm so glad my husband enjoyed your show because I made him come, I dragged him there away from the craps table.
By the end of the night, they're probably bigger fans than the wives.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they're the ones buying the merchandise at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's great, man. We do have some rowdy people every now and then. Right before 4th of July, it got a little out of hand, but that's a whole other show. I'll have to come back and talk about that night. But at the same time, you get these guys that are, coming in, like old veterans that are in wheelchairs, saying that you took me back to such a great time in my life. You made me forget about everything for 2.5 hours, and you can't ask for anything more than that, man.
Well, Scott, I want to try to get to some of these fans that are out there and not leave them hanging. Is there any other questions in the chat room?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Sally wants to know, are there any other roles that you would love to play?
Any other roles? Right now, I guess growing up I was always interested in the Phantom of the Opera and all that stuff. But right now, this is such a great role. It's like the role of a lifetime for me.
Oh, for heaven's sakes,
and,
I should say so.
And for any actor that gets to play it.
Well, particularly the fact that, you have a suit, kind of a similar look. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that your voice is very suited to this. It's like, for you in particular, it's got to be the role of a lifetime, like you say.
It's great, man. I couldn't.
And there's no end in sight.
There's not, man. We're still doing great. Audiences are still coming, so awesome.
Well, congratulations. Now, I think one of the cool things about being Mr. Important Musical Star is that you get to meet the babes. And along the way,
we do get to meet the babes.
You were very lucky to meet a very handsome young lady.
Yeah, she's great.
Her name is Jen.
Yeah, my wife.
And
babe, I'm still not those babes for you, babe.
When did you meet her? How did that come about?
We were working on a cruise ship, years ago, and we were in the show together, and we hit it off. We started dating and got married about 3 years ago in New York, and been going strong ever since, man.
So you guys just kind of eloped and did the City Hall.
That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did.
I could feel it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah, that is love.
Now,
had a couple guys from the show come down with me, but other than that, it was just us. It was cool.
Well, you're a lucky man, and I have to say she's a lucky young lady as well. And she is talented herself as well.
She is. She's in Peep Show down at Planet Hollywood, starring Holly Madison. Yeah.
I think we should go tonight. I want to gawk at your wife.
You can gawk at her. That's fine.
Well, what a talented couple you guys are. You've taken the city by storm, and you're kind of the celebrity couple. Do you guys get out and about much? Do you do much of the red carpets and the?
Yeah, we do. Whenever there's stuff going on, we get a call from our PR team that runs Jersey Boys that invites us out to that kind of stuff. So it's fun. You get to do all kinds of fun stuff here in Vegas.
Yeah, do you like living in Vegas? Are you enjoying it here?
I do,
I'm sure
man.
It's very different than
it is
the Midwest and the East Coast.
It is different, but the community is so great. They've really embraced us as part of their own now. We've become pretty much a staple in Vegas. Like when people have friends coming out of town,
probably the biggest show in town.
They tell them to come see us. So we try to get out. We try to do a lot of charity stuff as much as we can, and just give back a little bit to the Vegas community.
Well, speaking of giving back to the Vegas community, I'd like to talk about the other side of Travis Cloer, which is not being Frankie Valli.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Talktails. I'm Chris Phillips, and when we come back, my friend Travis Cloer from the Jersey Boys is going to tell us maybe a little bit about who and what he is on the side.
Wow.
And thank God for gay porn, because he would be really out of business. Back.
No pressure. Hi, I'm Dennis Silvers from, can't think of the name of my damn show, Golf and Other 4-Letter Words, and you're watching the Vegas Video Network, I think.
Oh, sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited to have with us a true celebrity here in town. This is Travis Cloer from the Jersey Boys, and I love to see the fact that he is also an afternoon alcoholic as well as I am.
Yes,
and you're with me on kind of an important...
This is my poison today.
Well,
I've got to drive home from here.
Alone. Thank God I brought my girlfriend with me, or I'd be in a lot of trouble because we share that same edict of late night drink. We were out till a little bit late last night.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And so that's why I have to kind of...
You got to keep your hair of the dog. That's what
Yeah, I
it
was
is.
going to say, I'm only going to have 2 cocktails instead of my usual 4 during the course
that's good.
of the show. But before we went to the break, I was mentioning the fact that there's something that is truly passionate to you as well. And being a singer, obviously you mentioned as growing up, you were a fan of the crooners, Frank Sinatra.
Big time.
The standards, so to speak, are something that are embedded into your soul as to being an inspiration as to why you wanted to get into music. And so with that in mind, I know that I am, without question, one of your biggest fans, not just as Frankie Valli, but as something that you do on the side, which is your solo career.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, you've put out a couple records on your own. What do you see happening with Travis Cloer, the singer, the independent crooner, so to speak?
That's a good question. What I'd like to see happen is,
is this the
worldwide superstar
motive to...
phenomenon? That's what I'd like to see.
Well, you put out a record setting.
I do, setting the standard.
Standard.
Yeah, I recorded it, produced it on my own, and it's been out now for a couple of years. And it just, like I said, features some of my favorite standard tunes. I've got a Christmas CD out as well, but it's not really Christmas right now, so we won't talk about that. I've got such a wide musical taste. It's sometimes it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly where I want to go with that. But the standards are definitely one of the major influences on me as a singer.
Is that your favorite kind of music?
It's hard to say because, like I said, I don't really have a favorite kind of music. It's one of my absolute favorites, but I don't know if it is my number 1 favorite.
Well, I can say, as you know, I'm a huge fan of not only the old standards, but particularly as it relates to the vintage Vegas aspect of old entertainers from Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and Don Rickles and such.
Yeah.
I know some of you know I do a vintage Vegas big band show, and I have for the last couple of years. And without question, the highlight of any show I have ever done is when you have come in and graced the stage and stolen the show, which I really appreciate.
I don't know about that. I thank you for having me because it's such a kick to sing with, that big swinging band behind you, man. It's amazing. And you just got this energy behind you that just propels you into the crowd. It's fantastic.
I have to cover up the fact that I can't sing or dance.
That's what I thought.
That's why I just wear a lot of distracting jewelry and get a fake tan.
No, it's great to do that stuff here, man, especially in Vegas.
Is that what you would like to ultimately do? Is put yourself an orchestra together and have your own show? Or
I'd love that,
man. Being a character in a musical, so to speak.
I like them both. I know that I'm not giving you many concrete answers for your wonderful questions, but that's definitely something that I would love to do. I'm working on a new show right now that's hopefully going to be ready to go this fall. And
is this something you'd like to see ultimately being in its own room here in town? Are you interested in staying in Vegas, or would you rather tour around the country and be like a Michael Bublé, so to speak, that puts out records and tours? Or
that'd be great. I think doing a sit-down show would be great as well. There's nothing like going home at the end of the night. Nothing like it. But that's something that I'm very much trying to do. Get something established here in Vegas. Yeah.
Well, I've seen you do your show, and I have to say that's how I like you best.
Oh, thank you.
That and naked.
Wow. Wow.
God, we've really taken it.
How much have you had of this
I've
yet?
already had a couple. See, I'm still recovering from last night. This is a question I ask some of my guests sometimes, and I think some folks are a little reluctant to answer this, but let me stay on the positive side of things first. Are you a fan of other Vegas shows?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you like to go see? Who's your? If you had a night off and you hadn't, you had some friends in town, you said, let's go see this show. Who would you go see?
Some of the ones that I've seen so far, I really like Terry Fader's show. Who else did I see? Manilow.
Barry Manilow's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Grew up with that stuff.
I haven't seen his new show at the Paris, though.
I haven't either. I haven't seen it
still
since
dying to see that.
Did you grow up listening to Barry Manilow?
Absolutely.
I did too.
Yeah.
You hear those songs, they just
Yeah, man.
again they immediately take you back to a time where you just get in the
Totally.
tears.
And again, that's my dad's influence because he was
Looks
his
like
favorite.
we made it.
And it was cool because when Barry was still at the Hilton, we got backstage passes
Oh, cool.
for the Jersey Boys.
Did you meet him?
And and I flew my dad in. And
Is he nice?
Saw the show, and he got to meet Barry. And it's funny because I've never seen my dad like starstruck before. He's always the kind of guy that could sit and talk to anybody about anything. And he was just in the corner like.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
It was great.
Was he
perfect.
gracious?
Oh, yeah, extremely. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was very cool.
Well, I love to see that he's, gosh, talk about a workhorse. I mean, this guy's not a spring chicken. He's out there night after night giving it everything he's got. And that's one of the things that you got to respect about certain entertainers that have longevity.
Absolutely.
It's like, how do they keep it going?
Absolutely.
How do they keep it exciting?
Because they care. That's their passion.
It is.
You know what I mean? And
They'd rather be on stage than anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and they are fine-tuning their show all the time, like him and like Donnie Marie and all those guys.
They're
you know?
amazing. I love them.
Yeah, they just keep what can we do next to take it to the next level, and I think that's important. That's what keeps people fresh, like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And that's what keeps them bringing people in night after night, month after month, year after year. You know.
Well, here comes the other side of the question.
Yeah.
Which I think would be kind of interesting for you to actually tell me the truth. What shows do you hate?
I don't know if I
love that.
hate anything.
I've got
hate
some
is such a
serious-
strong word.
Okay,
Chris
let me just say
Phillips.
that you wonder how in the hell do they have a room on this strip?
Well,
put you on the
there's
spot.
this act that plays out at Red Rock that is just god awful.
Hence why we're not on the strip. You can sell the locals on anything. You just liquor them up and there you go. I'm just kidding. You have to answer.
No, there's
But
Vegas.
some people tell me flat out.
I mean, it definitely has. This town has every range of show, from shows that are not necessarily should be produced to begin with, to shows that are fantastic that everybody should see at least once in their life.
Right.
So, but I think that's one of the great things about this town. That's what draws people in. That's what keeps us fresh and an entertainment city.
Well, let me ask you a question, because this is obviously going to be something that I can pretty much assume your answer. But see, I'm a Vegas purist.
Mm-hmm.
I love old Vegas.
Yeah.
I love the way Vegas used to be, the way I think it should be, and the way I think it should always be into the future. I'm not a fan of the Broadway musicals being in town.
Really?
No. I'm not a fan of Cirque du Soleil being in town. I like the old vintage entertainers who come out with a microphone, a cocktail, and an orchestra and say it the way it is. I changed my mind when I saw the Jersey Boys.
Well.
I don't think Phantom of the Opera belongs in Las Vegas. I think Jersey Boys belongs in Las Vegas, and I'll tell you why. You make the audience feel good. You come out and you relate to the people that are in the audience. There's not a wall. Right. See, the reason I don't care for certain shows
I see what you're
is
saying.
because there's no interaction.
I know exactly what you mean.
And people come into an audience, they see the show, and it's like, okay, I'm leaving with no substance. I feel like they didn't appeal to me personally.
Sure.
It's like watching a movie.
Right.
With you guys, you reach out into the audience and you grab them and you hold them. And the difference between your show and other shows on the strip, which are magnificent, don't get me wrong. You see them once, you've just seen the greatest show of your life. You just go see Love, that's a freaking awesome show. But you're not going to go see it 5, 7, 8, 10 times.
Right.
Jersey Boys, I'm guessing there's people that have seen you guys 30, 40, 50 times.
Oh, yeah, we got fans.
That's rare.
We've got some diehard crazy
you do.
fans, and they're great people that, like, they've seen our show 50 times, man.
I just saw a thing in the paper, a lady backstage with you guys last week that saw it 50 times.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, but I know what you mean.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you
Whereas
mean.
back in the old days, you go
Yeah.
see Frank Sinatra 200-300 times because
Every time was
Every
different.
time's
Every
different.
time he'd talk to a different
Absolutely,
person, and
absolutely.
you might be the somebody that gets to talk to him.
sure.
Yeah.
So, obviously you guys coming to town has changed everything in my opinion personally.
When I moved out here, thinking of how this picture I have of Las Vegas in my head when I came out here, it was nothing like that.
Really.
Yeah, the picture that I had in my head was like what you were talking
The
about.
stereotype,
Yeah.
which is, it doesn't exist, does
Yeah.
it?
I
There's
haven't
not a
seen
Vegas
it yet,
show
no.
on the Vegas Strip, really,
I haven't
in my
seen it
opinion.
yet.
That's where you need to do your own thing.
I'm trying.
I want to
I'm
see you
trying.
with your own room. I have no doubt. Well, there's somebody else in the chat room, if you don't mind. That's
No,
dying to ask you
absolutely.
a question,
Talk.
Scott, if you don't mind.
I've got 4 questions here. I mean, I've got all these questions about.
Well, let's try to get to all of them.
Yeah. FD wants to know, how does the casting differ from production to production of Jersey Board? Do you know if there's a difference in the way they cast?
You mean like from each
Yeah,
different city?
Yeah.
They have a mold for sure that they try to adhere to. You know, if you line up every guy that plays Frankie Valli next to each other, we'd all look like twins, basically, give or take a few features. But there's certain things that they look for and certain things that they have to adhere to stay true to the show. So yeah.
Speaking of the camaraderie, as some of you may or may not know, Travis shares the stage with another gentleman who plays Frankie Valli here in the cast, because there's no way you could do every show every night, so you split it up.
It's
between
pretty
the two of
brutal,
you.
yeah.
Rick Fagno? Fagno.
That's it.
So you guys split the duty?
Yeah, we
How does
do
that
it.
work?
We do it 4. We have 8 shows here. I do 4. Rick does 4. And every other production throughout the world, they have one guy that does 6 performances, and then another guy that just does 2. But since Vegas being what it is here,
So
they
if you guys
decided
are-
to split things equally and give us each
then
a bit of a break.
That
So.
begs the
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
is there a healthy camaraderie, or is there a little bit of tension between the two of you, to be honest, in terms of who gets the upper hand, if there is such a thing?
You know, I try not to delve into that kind of thing. You know what I mean? My
Is it
gig.
healthy competition?
Sure, we'll say that. But the way I look at it is my gig's my gig. You know, I try to do my
Different show on a
job
different night.
and my job alone.
You guys don't you probably don't cross paths very often then, do you?
No, we don't. We see each other backstage or, you know, at functions or whatever. And
So
yeah,
who's the
we
better
get along
Frankie
great.
Valli, Travis?
Frankie Valli.
Oh, there you go. God, I hate your answers. So you needed a couple of these to be with me. Well, I think if you don't mind, we're out of here. We're running out of time, but there was one more question that I know
Yeah,
we had
absolutely.
to get to, or they're going to be very upset with me.
What's that?
What is that, Scott?
I gave you the big time to go now, and then you said, well, let's take a question. Okay, I got a couple more. Quickly, how long is the Jersey Boy contract in Las Vegas for?
Right now we are open-ended, so keep coming. As long as you come to see us, we will be performing.
And how long did it take for you, in your own opinion, to perfect the role of Frankie Valli?
I'm still working on it. Still working on it. Someone once said, an amateur works till he gets it right, a professional works till he can't get it wrong. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I can attest to that. Folks, please, if you're in Las Vegas, if you see one show, go see Jersey Boys. And make sure you're seeing it on the night that Travis is there, because I have seen him many times, and it is, without question, one of the more entertaining shows that you're going to see while you're in town. We could not be more proud to have my friend Travis Cloer on Talktails.
That's right.
My name is Chris Phillips, and once again, if you can, please email us through the week, and all you got to do is go simply to Talktails@vegasvideonetwork.com. And we are so proud to have a big-time musical star with us, everybody. And
you can check out my website for my performance dates, traviscloer.com. That's it.
Well, on behalf of everybody here at Vegas Video Network, we thank you. Every Monday at 4 o'clock, please tune in. Otherwise, you can even go to YouTube and other such things. We also have a toll-free number, which is pretty fancy these days, Scott. I'm very proud of that. That is 866-966-4599. And we'll see you next Monday at 4 o'clock, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.